Good morning and welcome everyone to the Swansea Bay City Deal Joint Committee meeting of the 14th of October. I'm taking the first item because the first item on the agenda is the election of chair of the Swansea Bay City Deal Joint Committee. Are there any nominations from the leaders present as to the chair for the forthcoming year of the Swansea Bay City Deal Joint Committee?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Can I nominate Councillor Rob Stewart?
Is that seconded?
Yes, I second, Chair.
And I take it there are no other nominations. So can we have a vote on that, please? All those in favour? That's unanimous. I'll hand over to you, Councillor Rob Stewart, as the chair of the Swansea Bay City Deal Joint Committee going forward.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, colleagues, for that. Very much appreciated. Can I just check, in terms of the constitution, then the other leaders now become deputy leaders automatically, yes, of the joint committee, yeah?
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you. So with that, then we'll move to the apologies for absence, and can we have the apologies, please?
Yes, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor David Simpson, Pembrokeshire Council.
Okay. Are there any others that anybody wishes to provide today from colleagues? Are there any alternates attending on behalf of somebody? No.
Just to say, I'm Steve Spill, Vice Chair of the Health Board, attending on behalf of Emma, who's on vacation.
Well, welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we'll go on to item 3, which are declarations for interest. There are any items on the agenda today that members would wish to declare an interest for. So, yes, Mr. Foxall.
Thank you, Chair. So agenda item 7, the review of the ESB chair. I wanted to declare personal and prejudicial interest in that item, please.
And apologies.
Okay, I'll come to you in a second, Mr. Wilkes. Tracy.
Just in relation to Chris Vauxhall's declaration of interest, he will obviously be leaving the meeting virtually for that agenda item. I'd also remind partners relating to agenda item 8, which is the campus's business case. There are a number of partners who are represented here today, but you may also wish to declare a personal interest in relation to that agenda item.
Okay, thanks. Steve, I'll come back to you. Steve?
Specifically on that point, just to declare an interest, obviously, in the campus's OBC.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you both. Those will be declared. Any others before we move on? If not, we'll go to the minutes then of the meeting on the 29th of July. Are there any amendments or are there any issues with the minutes that anybody would like to raise? I haven't been notified of any. If not, could I ask somebody to move the minutes as a true record, please? Thanks. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Dole.
On second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Latham. All those in favour then? Thank you. Those are accepted. Announcements of the chair of the committee. I don't have any this morning, but we'll probably want to say a few words later on. Moving on then to public questions. Have we received any questions from members of the public today? No, Samantha? No, okay.
No,
right.
No, Chair, thank you.
Okay, therefore we'll move to item 7, and if I could ask Mr. Foxall to dip out of the meeting, and we'll call you back as soon as we've dealt with this item. Okay, thank you, members. This item is before you because, as you will see, we had previously made decisions whereby Mr. Ed Tomp, who was the chair of the ESB, had made a request for a leave of absence, and we granted that on the basis then that we sought nominations from the ESB, and Chris Foxall and Amanda Davis were nominated as interim or temporary chairs of the ESB and temporary chair and vice chair, sorry, of the ESB. Since then, Mr. Tomp has been back in contact to say that his situation has changed now such that he is able to rejoin the efforts of the ESB if we'd like him to, but that he does not wish to rejoin as chair. So therefore that required us to go through a process of seeking nominations for chair and vice chair of the ESB, and we've had unanimous nominations for both Mr. Foxall and Miss Amanda Davis to continue as chair and vice chair. And a separate request there for Mr. Tomp to be allowed to rejoin the ESB, but as a member. As is required, the nominations have been shared with the UK and Welsh governments, and they have endorsed both of those nominations. So what I'm seeking today as part of this paper is for agreement that we accept that Chris Foxall becomes chair of the ESB, that Amanda Davis becomes vice chair of the ESB, and that Ed Tomp is agreed as a board member for the ESB going forward. So I'm happy to take questions on that. Tracy, is there anything further you wanted to add?
No, I was just going to point out Ed Tomp isn't actually part of the recommendation on this report. The recommendation is for the election of chair and the vice chair. Ed Tomp would remain a member of the ESB in any event, because I think he stood down for a limited amount of time.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that clarification, Tracy. Yes. So the two items then are the endorsement of Mr. Foxall and Miss Amanda Davis, or agreement to them being appointed to their roles. Can I ask, firstly, are there any questions from any members on the report? And if not, I'll go to leader colleagues for the vote. So if you're in favour of the recommendation, if you could please show. Sorry, Tracy, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, just so that we get it proposed and seconded.
Yeah.
I'll propose, Chair.
Yeah, on second, Chair.
Okay, thank you both. All right, we'll do the vote again. If you're all happy, if you could raise your virtuals or real hands. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Thank you all. We'll move then to the SBCD campus business cases. So we've welcome Keith Lloyd to present this as a project SRO. Keith, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just share my screen. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'll get rid of myself, I think. Just bear with me. You don't want me, you want the project. There we are. Can you see my slides?
Yeah, that's great, Keith. If you want to make them full screen on your screen, they'll obviously be bigger again then.
There we are. So
great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present on the campuses project this morning. It's a partnership between Swansea Council, Swansea Bay University Health Board, Swansea University and Hale Bar Health Board. Its full title is the Life Sciences, Wellbeing and Sport Campuses, hereinafter referred to as the Campuses Project. The aim of this project is to harness the unique capabilities we have in the Swansea Bay City region, and with support from private sector partners to drive the growth of a globally significant medtech and sports tech cluster, and all the things that come with that, which I'll explain as we go through the presentation. So, we have a track record of this type of innovation from the Institute of Life Science at Swansea University, which has, from 2007 until now, secured over 30 companies and 800 jobs and 36 million of inward investment. Essentially, it was a WEFO-funded project, so it was audited according to the Treasury Green Book methodology, and it put £3 back into the economy for every pound in public money it received, and it did that during a period of extreme economic austerity from the crash and through the early whatever the decade between 2010 and 2020 is called, the teens, I suppose. As part of that project, we identified a shortfall of innovation space, which this project addresses. One of the opportunities downstream from this is to work with Swansea Council, incidentally, about the type of innovation space that they're looking to develop in Kingsway. And I think there are synergies how we can work together on that rather than compete that are really quite exciting. So the aim then, as I said, is to develop this cluster of medtech and sports tech companies. The ILS has achieved a really great track record in medtech and sports tech. I'll give you one illustration of where the crossover between those things is. Novo Nordisk are a Danish pharma company who work both with us, the sports scientists in Swansea University, and with the diabetologists, and they're interested in measuring blood sugar, and that's really important for both elite athletes and for community participation in sport. So there's another company that's made a mouthguard, for example, that works in both elite sport and in community sport to measure impacts and concussions in a range of sports. It's mostly been used in football and rugby so far, and has lots of implications for that kind of crossover area. We believe, based on the ILS data, that this will deliver between 1,000 and 1,200 jobs, make a significant contribution to regional GVA, and there'll be skills development through HEFE, executive education and degree apprenticeships. And these are the project delivery partners who have so far signed letters of support with us. Vodafone, of course, are also partners in the Digital Arena project. Novo Nordisk, I've mentioned, Sport Wales. Cognizant are another tech company who also, if any of you follow motor racing, you'll know that they are supporters of the Aston Martin team, who also have jobs in Wales. We have ongoing engagement with other private sector partners who we will procure, and any engagement we have with these other partners downstream will require further procurement, which we're all aware of when we're working with the Department for International Trade to get the investment partners. So what will the City Deal money do? It will, the 15 million that we're seeking from City Deal will create a sports tech and med tech development. For those of you who know Sketty Lane, the site to the left of that, of Sketty Lane, where the national pool and the sports facilities are, this will be the catalyst for a major redevelopment of that area for both community sport, skills development and tech, and also for elite sport, making us hopefully the sporting capital of Wales and one of the most important sporting destinations in the UK over time. The other part of the City Deal investment will create a further Institute of Life Science presence in the Morriston Hospital site, locating med tech and to some extent sports tech developments alongside the strengths that we have in therapeutics and innovation. And as part of that, there'll be a contribution towards the planning of the road that the Health Board will be responsible for delivering to open up the 50-acre site to the north of the existing Morriston site. That will have a benefit for the local population as well in terms of improving access and traffic flows through the area. The Health Board is doing a really interesting thing at the moment about reconfiguring services, which many of you will be familiar with. And there'll be opportunities to use this opportunity to help deliver the best access to the site that we can. In phase 2, so the City Deal investment unlocks those two developments. And in the second phase, it'll help us develop both the a science park adjacent to the hospital at Morriston on that new site there, which will create a lot of high-skill, high-value jobs, also jobs in construction. We're using BRIAM excellence throughout the construction and trying to use local firms wherever possible, as we've done in the past. And down at the Sketty Lane site, so this is a view from looking sort of, I guess, southwest really from the University Singleton side of Sketty Lane, looking out across the site there and showing some of the developments that will take place there. The building marked 1 towards the bottom of the picture is the development that we hope will catalyse. Many of the facilities there are very carbon inefficient, they're very old, they need upgrading, and this will be an opportunity to do that and to work with the City Council on transforming the site both for elite and community participation in sport. The investment then over the 2 phases, as I say, is 132 million. The City Deal funding in phase 1 is 15 million. The breakdown's there. And in phase 2, we're seeking to raise that amount of funding for the later phases of the project. All the City Deal outcomes are predicated on phase 1, so the funding is based on the outcomes in phase 1, and we think that's the sum that the City Deal finance leverages at the end. So we've been through policy gateways with both Welsh and most recently UK government, and we can see a strong link with a range of policy initiatives. Obviously, the key drivers around future generations and industrial strategy and decarbonisation, but also around high-skilled jobs and also creating a healthier, active population. There are real opportunities for the partners to work together to help improve the health of the population in the region. We have in the OBC actually calculated the health gain that a project like this might deliver to the population. So it's been through a number of partner sign-offs. It's been through the Welsh Government Gateway Review, which I'll say a bit more about in a minute, Programme Board most recently, Swansea Bay University Health Board, Haldar University Health Board, for whom there will be many more benefits in phase 2, Swansea Council, and through Swansea University Council. So it's been signed off at exec level in at board level in all those organisations. We had the Welsh Government Gateway Review in the summer, and they gave us an amber green recommendation, which is, I think, one of the better recommendations that the City Deal projects have received. And they scored us as, they gave us 11 recommendations, 8 essential, 3 non-essential. We've completed 5 of the 8 essential recommendations so far, and 2 of the 3 non-essential recommendations. The other recommendations, which I can spell out for people if they're interested, relate to ongoing monitoring and activities which we can't complete yet anyway, because they take place through the life of the project. And that's a very quick run through the campuses project, from which I'm seeking support from the group today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Keith. It's a really good presentation, and again, very exciting addition for the region, and certainly, as you know, very supportive of the both the phase 1, but especially about what it will unlock for phase 2, which is again takes it to a whole new level. But no, very, very grateful for that, Keith. I'll open it up for questions and comments. I'm sure Keith will take questions if anybody has them. Are there any comments or questions for Keith today? Yeah, Councillor Latham.
Yeah, just a comment, Rob. I mean, that's a brilliant project, absolutely superb. Why wouldn't you want it, and why would you talk against it? I just question whether myself, you and Emlyn should have declared an interest over this one, being the elite athletes that we are, but we'll skip that. But yeah, you've got to be in support of that, surely.
Yes, absolutely. And no, I'm working on getting fitter, Ted, but not quite there yet. So I think our declarations are okay.
I forgot as well, Ted. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, folks. Keith, thank you very much. And with that, then we'll go through for the vote. So can I ask if I formally move the report, could I ask one of my colleagues to formally second, please?
Yeah, happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. And now we'll go to the vote then. If you could raise your virtual hand or real hand if you're in favour. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. So again, Keith, thank you very much. Well done, and keep up the good work. Look forward to seeing phase 1 come online.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for having me this morning.
Oh, apologies, I see Miles raised his hand. Miles, apologies if I missed you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a clarification, we had also sent it, we're conscious that that Pembrokeshire can't make it here today, Pembrokeshire Council. We had sent the OBC to Councillor David Simpson, and I was just wondering whether we'd had any feedback from Councillor Simpson.
Yes, apologies. It was I was remiss on that. I know that Pembrokeshire had confirmed that they were fully in support of the item, but unfortunately were unable to provide a voting member here today. So again, I think had Pembrokeshire been in attendance today, you would have had 4 votes in favour of the approval of the business case. So, okay, if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Okay, thank you all. Keith, if I could ask you to stop sharing your screen, and we'll move on to the next item.
There we are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Appreciated. We'll move on to item 8 then, which is the update for the Swansea City Waterfront Digital District, and welcome Geraint Flowers. Geraint, if you'd like to come in. Is Geraint with us at the moment, or is he having connection problems?
Rob, we'll contact Geraint to see where he is. I can't see him on the list, so he might have connection problems. I'll check.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. With everybody's indulgence, then I'll use Chair's prerogative to slip that item down the agenda until Geraint can join us, and we'll move then to item 10 instead, which is the highlight report, and welcome Phil Ryder. Phil, if you'd like to come in and take us through the headlines of the highlight report.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep it fairly brief this morning. So there's a couple of points from the Portfolio Office. It's just a note that we've noticed, or we appear to have noticed, a large amount more of interest in engagements and interest in the portfolio generally now that we've started to deliver on the projects included within the portfolio. And that the development of the procurement pipeline is also supporting local interest in the procurement activities of the respective programmes and projects. In relation to the status of the programmes and projects, Eregin has a long while ago completed its phase 1, but they are imminently due to commence a Gateway 5 review, which is the final review for the project, essentially assessing its transition from delivery into operation. So that will be the first Gateway 5 for the portfolio, and that will be shortly followed by the waterfront when the arena is completed. But before we go on to that, within relation to phase 2 of Eregin, they've now completed the demand survey with the creative sector, and we look forward to understanding what that will inform us for phase 2 moving forward in the new year. As mentioned, with regards to the waterfront, the arena is still on track for completion this side of Christmas. 71-72 the Kingsway have obviously appointed a contractor, and construction is hopefully due to start imminently. And the previous item, which we obviously just moved on from, was the innovation matrix change request. That was approved at the last joint committee. It was then ratified by both Welsh and UK governments, and the university, Geraint will obviously give a much more detailed update if he does join the call, but the university is moving forward now with a planning application for the revised change, which again will hopefully be seen this side of Christmas. With regards to Pentrowel, the Zone 1 tenders have been received, and the procurement activities are nearing completion. So again, in the coming weeks and months, we should hopefully see a contractor appointed for the Zone 1 works, and the design and preparation work for Zone 3 is ongoing. Homes as power stations have recruited a project manager, and engagements with the key stakeholders and development of the supply chain activities have begun, and that is moving again in the right direction and ramping up now that the delivery of the scheme has commenced. Digital Infrastructure have also recruited their team following the approval of the business case earlier on in the year, and have appointed special advisors, arranged various workshops across the region with key stakeholders in order to develop their detailed design, and they are moving forward with public-private and sector works to try and get the investment funds, etc., committed for that particular project. Pembroke Park Marine, the schemes are all ongoing there. There's multiple activities going on now. All of the planning consents, etc., for the infrastructure elements have been completed, and they recent conversations with them in relation to their delivery processes for the next couple of months. Supporting innovation and low carbon growth, the business case has now been approved over the summer, and the Bay Technology Centre is on track for completion, with the advanced manufacturing production facility now at its pre-procurement, pre-market engagement stages following that approval, as I said earlier, in the summer. Skills and talent, the business case is in both governments for approval, but we have had indication that should be with us in the next week or two. So hopefully before the end of this month, we should see the final approval of the skills and talent business case. And they have also recruited the program manager for that program. So as soon as that should actually line up quite nicely with that individual starting and their approval being achieved, which will allow them to dive straight into their delivery and to start developing the projects within that program. I won't update on campuses because as Keith has just delivered us a very comprehensive update, so there's no need for me to go any further into that. And then just a couple more points from the portfolio office. The benefits realisation reporting has now progressed with the leads. We've agreed a format for reporting, and that will form part of this current quarterly report, which is out with the programme and project leads now. So you will receive in the next joint committee a quarterly report which is inclusive of the benefits realisation, and that will be reported quarter on quarter moving forward now, so that we can see the benefits of the portfolio being delivered, and that will also be supported with an annual benefits realisation report. And the final point, I think, from me, because I think everything else is covered on the agenda, is that at the next joint committee we will also be bringing a updated joint committee work plan for everybody to review and accept. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Really appreciate that. Quick skip through, been really helpful. And again, I think it shouldn't be lost here. I want to place again on record my thanks to everybody working across those projects, working in the project office, working in the teams to deliver this, because we are now getting to a point where nearly every project in the deal, project or program in the deal, is live, and into that more, if you like, sexy period where they're actually delivering stuff that people can see, can point to in their communities, can feel the impacts of. So I think we've got to a very good point. There are still some challenges ahead. We're not immune from the impacts of COVID or Brexit. There are some pressures that all of our projects will face. But again, we're actively managing those and making sure that delivery obviously continues at the pace which we've set out previously. So I'm very pleased where we've got to. And I think, we should not be shy at promoting the point at which we got to with this deal, because I think there isn't any other deal in Wales at the present time that can point to being in the position where they're delivering as many projects and as much of the totality of what they were asked to do at the outset of signing the deal. And I think that's a tribute to everybody for their efforts in making sure that we get these projects into a position where they are benefiting the lives of the people in our region. So thank you all for that. And again, Phil, thank you for the update and the work that's going on in the regional office.
Good job.
Okay, were there any questions for Phil on any of the updates across any of the projects or programmes that Phil updated us on? If not, I believe the highlight report's just for noting, so we don't need to do a vote on that. So just for everybody to note the updates as provided. I'll just check before I go on to item 11 whether Geraint's been able to join us.
So Chair, I've tried every way apart from carrier pigeon, but Geraint does have connectivity problems. So if possible, could we defer to the next meeting? The report is there for people to review, but Geraint will update and provide a further update to Joint Committee next month.
Yeah, as long as colleagues are happy with that, I think that's a sensible way to go forward. We've already made the decision on this one, but this was an update in terms of what actions are now following, and I don't think that's time sensitive, so we can take that at the next meeting if everybody's happy. Yeah, I'm seeing some nods there, so that's fine. That's great then. So we'll move then to the Portfolio Gateway Zero Review and Action Plan, and welcome Ian Williams. Ian, over to you, and if you want to take us through the update, please.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Chair. As part of the agreed portfolio assurance arrangements, a portfolio gateway review was undertaken 19th to 21st of July. The full report from the gateway review is included in the pack. In summary, it received a very pleasing amber green delivery confidence assessment rating. It recognised the excellent progress made across the portfolio in the 12 months since the previous review. It also recognised the combined efforts of the constituent partners and the PMO in achieving that. It contained 4 prioritised recommendations, also with a number of advisory comments as well, to ensure that the portfolio is positioned for effective management and delivery. So the action plan in your pack details the specific actions being undertaken to fulfil the recommendations, together with their timing, ownership and current status. In order to assist in completing the recommendations, the PMO is engaging with stakeholders. As part of this, a survey was sent out to all SROs and project leads to help inform the development and improvement of governance, reporting and communications arrangements. As I mentioned, Chair, there's 4 headline recommendations. I'll just go through them very, very briefly. The first one is in 2 parts, actually. So recommendation 1A, if you like, is to update the stakeholder map, engagement strategy and communications plan. This is in progress, and the comms and marketing officers in post and is progressing that action. 1B was to establish the potential to make greater use of dashboard information to convey updates to different stakeholder groups. A trialing of project management tooling has been undertaken through the PMO, and a recommendation on the preferred software is to be made shortly, which will include portraying key information in the dashboard format. Recommendation 2 was to confirm that the intended outcomes and benefits remain realistic given the impact of COVID and Brexit on the shortening of the UK government funding timeframe. We've confirmed with the UK government that the benefits realisation timeframe remains until 2033, even though the funding profile from UK government ends in 2028 due to their accelerated drawdown. Work is also well underway through the PMO to finalise arrangements, as Phil has just mentioned, for the monitoring and reporting of benefits across the portfolio. This will ensure that any issues with the achievements of benefits are identified and mitigated where possible. Recommendation 3 is to update the terms of reference for membership of Programme Board and ensure that all members and attendees understand their respective roles. The updating of terms of reference for any of the City Deal governance boards will coincide with the development of corporate joint committees. Direction on this will be provided by the local authority chief executives. And finally, recommendation number 4, identify opportunities for the PMO to extend its targeted support to constituent programmes and projects to reduce the PMO burden on those programmes and projects. To this end, the skills audit has been completed and will be reported on, but also the survey to SROs and project leads will give us feedback on areas of support to be considered by the PMO. So this action plan will be continue to be updated and kept live and submitted to government along with the updated portfolio business case in March 2022. So the request is, Chair, if Joint Committee can consider and approve the action plan.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ian. Colleagues, any questions or comments for Ian before we go to the vote on this one? No, I don't see any hands up. So again, very happy to move this formally. Could I ask one of my colleagues to second, please?
Yeah, no, oh, sorry, yeah, no problem.
Thank you. And if we could go to the vote, virtual or real hands are fine. Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Okay, thank you, Ian. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
We move now on then to item 12, which is the anti-fraud and anti-corruption strategy. Welcome, Richard Arnold. Richard, over to you. And if you'd like to take us through this report, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. The strategy was has been derived as a result of the internal audit that was done back earlier in the year. So there was a recommendation from the internal audit that an anti-fraud and anti-corruption strategy be implemented within the city region. Essentially, it's an overarching document defining clear routes of reporting up to the Joint Committee and any attention that the Joint Committee can give it any attention that they may need it, or put an independent investigate independently themselves. So the strategy that I'm going to save time, I'm going to skip over the first 6 pages, and on to page 7. The first 6 pages are quite descriptive, and they essentially allude to the various rules, acts and legislation that's embedded within bribery and corruption and theft, etc. So on page 7, if I direct your attention to the infographic there's a what we've done is an overarching document to clearly define the routes should any corruption or bribery be identified. But then there's an option there then that where it's deemed necessary that the monitoring officer, the Section 151 officer and chief audit, risk and assurance officer can investigate independently, and that coincides with the funding agreements that projects sign up to as well. So it's all interlinked there. So any suspicion or any fraud from the members, from any members or anything, it would be referred to organisations' own policies and procedures within the first instance, or where deemed necessary, the relevant police departments, with a requirement to report up to the Joint Committee. Depending on the seriousness, then relevant officers then can then make a decision if they want to go and provide additional insurance or support, or to obtain further information. They can put an independent team together to essentially go into that organisation to provide further assurance. So as I explained, that this is an overarching document provided to with the intend to provide a clear route of reporting should anything that I would hope it would never ever needed to be used, to be honest with you, but should it derive that everyone is fully understanding of the position of the city deal. Beyond page 7, there's some detail on detection and prevention measures that and internal controls that the city deal have got in place, and the aims of the objectives of the strategy. So that's the strategy in a brief summary. I'm happy to take any questions should any arise on that.
Thank you, Richard. Very helpful. Are there any questions or comments for Richard on the report? No, I don't see any hands there. Okay, Richard, thank you very much. I'll on your behalf then I'll formally move that report. Again, could I ask one of my colleagues to second? Emlyn, thank you very much. And if we can go to the vote, if you could again show your virtual or real hands if you're in favour. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Thank you, Richard. We'll move then to the next item, which is the Swansea Bay Joint Committee Financial Monitoring Report. And again, I'll come back to you, Richard, on this item.
Thank you very much. So this is the Q1 monitoring outturn position. So as of Q1, the Joint Committee and Accountable Body was demonstrating an outturn position of £181,000. This is just to inform that this includes all the statutory services and recharges from authorities based on for the statutory services that they provided. You will note that I think the year before last that they were treated as a benefit in kind, but a decision was made last year and they were incorporated into the 5-year budget to re-include them in here. So this includes the democratic services for Swansea, City and County of Swansea, the monitoring officer services, internal audit and support. There's Wales audit, external audit fees included in here, and a recharge for the Section 151 officer included within the outturn position for the accountable body and joint committee. The Joint Scrutiny Committee, again, provided by NEATH, so this is the recharge for the support that they provide for the Joint Committee. The outturn position there is demonstrating about £29,000. And then we move on to the Portfolio Management Office. So the key figures within the Portfolio Management Office are the staffing costs. You will note there is a slight underspend there, but that's as a result. There was a vacant post for a few months, and the budget that was derived, the 5-year budget that was derived, was based on top of the grade as well. So both those accumulated in a slight underspend there. The conferences, marketing and advertising as well is another key figure, and that's basically is made up of, there's going to be some website development within the year, there's some events planned, there's engagement planned, and some sponsorship of events that's already happened as well, that's gone into there as well. All culminating in about 644,000 outturn position for the office there. Over and above that, there is a provision which we've had to put in for unwinding of the PMO, because as I said, it's a 5-year budget, so we've had to account for an unwinding provision in there, culminating in a total position, outturn position of 914,000 for the Joint Committee and its supporting services there. This is offset by government grant. So this has been mentioned before, which is the top slice of 1%, as well as all the partners' contributions as well. As a result, it results in a deficit of about 92,000. But I do need to note that isn't actually a timing effect, because as the grant, the 1.5% is based on drawdown grant. So as the grant slips or as it moves, it will draw down. So over the lifetime of the grant, the full 1.5% will be utilised and offset to support the operational requirement of the Joint Committee. That results in a reserve position at the year end of a surplus of 123,000, because you note that we've had reserves rolled over from year one based on the continuing the partnership contributions. So that's the position of the Joint Committee. Moving on, the Portfolio Investment Fund. So what we're looking at here at the moment is over the full 15-year life cycle of the City deal, we're anticipating an investment of 1.238 billion. So this is just short of the original 2.74 billion that the original heads of terms and it was the original basis on which the city deal was signed up to. This you will note that this has changed from the last report that I brought before you. The last report demonstrated 1.148 billion, and that's because Swansea Campus's project has now come into fruition and significantly increased investment there. So it has been a knock-on effect, which has been very positive for the portfolio in its outturn position at the year end, at the end of its life cycle, at the end of its tenure. It's been the City Deal grant is a capital grant, so there's what we've had to do is review sort of the estimated revenue requirement. So in totality, there is an additional piece of work going on behind the scenes at the moment to look at how authorities can manage it. But at present, there's demonstrated an estimate of about £55 million worth of revenue required within the portfolio. So that's actually only 4% out of the total projection of 1.238 billion. Again, this is going to be managed continuously, and there's an ongoing piece of work to look at how authorities can effectively manage this using the Capital Receipts Directive, etc. So to conclude, on the portfolio investment fund, that against the original heads of terms, there is a slight underinvestment of 3%. However, there is fluctuation on this at the moment, and we are looking at the moment 2 business cases that are outstanding, waiting to be approved. When they're approved, then what we can do is we can formally revise the budget for the Portfolio Management Office. And those figures will be a lot more accurate because when the original heads of terms signed, that was back in 2017. So there's a lot happened within them 4 years. So there'll be a piece of work going on to look at the revision of this budget now in the next quarter as well. So that's in summary the financial position of the City Deal, and I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have on that.
Okay, thank you again, Richard. Are there any questions or comments for Richard on this? Maybe you'd like to make? Again, I think as you rightly explained, Richard, some of this is a timing issue, and again, I think given that small variance, given everything we're facing in terms of COVID and Brexit, I think that's fully understandable and fully acceptable. So, okay, I don't see any hands up. So again, on your behalf, well, actually, this one's for information, so I don't think it needs to be moved forward. Tracy, sorry.
Sorry, I think is there not a recommendation for this report?
I thought this one was for noting, but happy to move it if it requires it.
Yeah, it does say to review the monitoring the monitoring report. So I would ask that it's moved, seconded, and then voted. It's not simply down as a for information report.
Okay, no problem. Then let's do it. Belt and braces. Very happy with that. So I'll formally move on Richard's behalf. Grateful if one of my colleagues could formally second. Thank you, Emlyn. And ask you to raise your hands if you're in favour of the report, please. Okay, thank you very much. That is unanimous. Richard, again, thank you for that. We'll move then to item 14, which is the Welsh language guidelines. I welcome John Burns. John, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So the Welsh language guidelines, as you got in your pack, these have been drafted to basically summarise our portfolio's approach to incorporate the Welsh language standards. So the guidelines include how we communicate, how we support documents for governance and for public consumption as well, and particularly how that will be undertaken. So within the document, it talks about the appropriate use of the Welsh language and mainly relates to the service delivery standards of the Welsh language standards. So the ask, Chair, is for a joint committee to approve the guidelines so that the Portfolio Office and all of our key stakeholders for the City Deal can then adhere to the guidelines.
Okay, thank you, John. Again, pretty straightforward. Emlyn, would you like to come in?
You're muted, Emlyn.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Hapus iawn I dderbyn hein a barod iawn I gynnig. Happy to welcome these and to propose formally. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Very happy to second that one. Okay, and again, if there are no comments or questions, if you could raise your hands. Yeah, thank you, those. That is unanimous again. Thank you very much. Then on to our final item for today, which is the meeting protocol. John, I'll come back to you.
Thanks, Chair. So the meeting protocol that we've developed was instigated by our senior responsible owner with Wendy Walters in Programme Board. And the purpose of it is to provide the means and guidance for all of the things associated with our governance board, so the preparation, coordination and delivery of them. And then there's 4 governance boards that covers. This guidance and the protocol needs to be read in conjunction with the Council's own local procedures in how local authorities conduct their business. But basically the details contained within the protocol is things around notice of meetings, time and commitment from board members, the meeting etiquette, agenda items setting, and also distribution of documents. And this is to make sure that everybody associated with City Deal understands what we aim to do and what we're working towards, to make sure that everybody gets the information in the way that they need to, and they contribute and be part of the meetings that they're in. So again, Chair, this is a request for approval so that we can implement the protocol.
Okay, thank you very much. All very sensible stuff. I've got this down for information on my thing. Apologies. But if it needs approval, more than happy to go to it. Tracy, you suggest we approve?
Yeah, there is a recommendation there for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm happy to formally move. Could I ask one of my colleagues to second? Thank you, Emlyn. And if you colleagues could show hands if you're in support of the report. Thank you very much. That's carried. Okay, and that brings us to the end of the agenda. But before you all go, I know Chris is now back in the room with us, having declared an interest for an earlier item. But Chris, I just wanted to place on record again my thanks for the work that you've been doing as interim chair of the ESB, yourself and Amanda, and the work that the ESB has done to support the delivery of all of the projects. It's greatly appreciated. And again, congratulate you on election, you and Amanda, to the roles of chair and vice chair of the ESB, and look forward to working closely with you to continue the delivery of our projects.
Well, thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to thank, on behalf of Amanda and myself, and actually Ed as well, for the support from the committee for the review and the recommendations, and just to let committee know that we obviously do a fair bit of work in the background. Obviously all the board are very busy private sector members, but the enthusiasm hasn't waned throughout the course of reviewing these projects, and of course we've seen all of them at this point in time, and continue to challenge and advise, and very much committed to helping secure the private sector investment. We see that as absolutely critical, and the projects being investable, and we actually are still of the opinion that the Swansea Bay City region is probably the best investment opportunity in the UK at the moment. And so one of the things that we're looking to really focus on going forward is ensuring the efforts from DIT and Welsh Government and the local authorities are very much in line with what we're trying to do, and they link in with this new strategy that's coming forward from SQW. So again, diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Absolutely support what you said. It's I think we are especially with the dual government's agendas on climate change and investments in new technologies. I think we're extremely well placed as a region to take advantage of that, and obviously look forward to the announcements in COP26, which should do very soon. So with that, folks, if there isn't anything else, can I thank you all very much for your attendance, wish you well, and look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.